Hello, everybody.
So,
Hey, Hendrik.
Good morning.
Good morning.
good morning.
Let me ping the TSC. So let me share the agenda for today. Okay, I think I can start with the welcome and the introduction. So welcome everybody to the Hiero TSC call. Like every call we do at the Hiero project, this is a public call, which means everybody is invited to attend the TSC calls and all our other meetings, bring in, discussions items, join our discussions, ask questions, and so on. And you can find information about all our meetings in our public calendar. It's linked in the TSC minutes, but you can find it on our webpage or on the GitHub main page too, where you get an overview of all our public meetings. As you can see, actually now we are in the Hiero TSC meeting, and we have two other Hiero meetings coming up today, which is the community project transition meeting that is about like migrating and transferring projects, new projects to Hiero, doing the technical work there. And we have the Hiero Solo community call. So that is a call for the Hiero community. And while I have opened that calendar, I want to highlight two new meetings we have. So one meeting is a bi-weekly meeting, which is the Hiero marketing meeting that happens now every second week, right after the TSC meeting. So first time next week after the TSC meeting, we will have the Hiero marketing meeting. Actually, maybe it was already last year. I was on vacation, so I'm not 100% sure. And the other meeting I want to highlight is a monthly meeting, which is the Hiero monthly maintainer community call, which is an project independent, project agnostic meeting. So it's for SDK maintainers, it's for the Sogo maintainers, it's for the consensus node maintainers, and so on, to inform and discuss about topics that are interested for all maintainers. Could be security topics, could be like we had it in the past, the election for the maintainer seat on the TSC, could be updates coming from LFDT, from the tech, discussing things about good first issues and Hacktoberfest, and so on and so on. All that will be part of the monthly Hiero maintainer community call, and I invite all maintainers to join those calls and help us to discuss that topic with a bigger audience. And Jessica, I found a bug. I cannot close this window. So I need to reload the whole page to
Interesting. I'll check on that. Thank you.
dates. Okay, perfect. But yeah, today we are here in the or just now we are in the TSC meeting, and as I already said, all our meetings are public and open, and I'm really happy to see I don't know how many people here, but over 20 people now being for sure in this meeting. And if you want to contribute to this meeting, have questions, want to join a discussion, you're free to do it. We have the code of conduct of the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust for that. Under that, all our meetings happens next to the antitrust policy of the Linux Foundation. So with that, you're welcome. Please contribute to your meetings, but do it in a friendly manner, and I think then everything is good. Which brings us to the agenda of the meeting today. So first point is the approval of the previous minutes. And I've seen Brandon sends again, send the PR. No, that is the wrong tab. Send the PR of the minutes of the last week meeting, just I think an hour ago. And it's already reviewed by Milan. I will try to have a look at this after this meeting. And then we have the minutes of last week in our repo, which is awesome how fast this now goes forward. And said, since I was on vacation last week, I'm not know for sure if we have any updates on HIPs. So let me open this awesome HIP project dashboard that Richard created for us. And there are 3 HIPs that are in last call or Hiero review state. And I already have seen some of the assignees here in this meeting. Maybe Mark, maybe you can give an overview of the state and if something should be presented today.
Yeah, sure. So HIP 1300, we're still having some discussions. That was presented, but Alex brought up some points on what accounts should be included. And we've been kind of going around with that. So we just need another week to sort out the path forward on
Yep.
that issue. That said, Joseph, I don't know your thoughts on account ID 1299, if that's ready for a vote. Based on the discussion last week, it seemed like it was about ready, but I'll leave it
Yeah,
to
I
you.
believe it's ready.
Okay.
Oh, It has been presented last week.
Yes, yeah. So I
Yes.
think that one
Okay.
could come to a vote. Yep.
Okay. Good. So asking the TSC members here, are you fine with doing a vote on HIP 1299?
I think there's still some items that I had raised that haven't been addressed, such as the multi-node account mapping, um, and just understanding the coupling with a yet to be or maybe in-flight HIP around the uh, SDKs and Happy using the node account ID as the primary key for submitting transactions versus the node ID. I think those things should be done somewhat coincidentally, because it addresses an issue that we're facing today, and that is exacerbated by account ID changes.
So the second point, Alex, that will be a separate HIP that is getting drafted, currently being drafted. So we didn't want to include that change from node account ID to node ID in this HIP.
Yeah,
So that's
no,
a
I understand
separate.
that, but
Yep.
it's by having that in place, it provides for a clear pathway for some of the deconfliction concerns that were raised about the many to one node account to node mapping.
Okay, so I guess what you want to wait until we have that drafted to uh analyze these two HIPs together? Is that what?
Yeah, or at least something that is here is, and I know we talked about it, but is there any material, even in draft form, that would say here is HIP XXXX that uh, is defined as the conversion from node account ID to node ID as the mechanism for directing transactions to a given node.
So that is not ready for draft and won't be for a while. It has a lot of side effects, and so it's going to require some um, detailed investigation to understand everywhere that it affects. Unfortunately, that is not a simple change. Um, Changing from account ID to node ID impacts many different locations.
Is so, Joseph, is the, with that statement, is it, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, just trying to understand, is it something that is still going to be pursued despite those inherent challenges, or
Yes,
has analysis? Okay, just so I
yeah,
understand that.
it has started. It's being worked on. It's just going to take enough time that it it may be wise to move forward with this change to enable some flexibility before we make that change to enable further flexibility.
Right, and no, I understand the, well, not to the detail you're talking about, but at a high level, I understand that this is not a trivial exercise given the use of the existing node account ID identifier in the code, as well as how it's used operationally downstream as well. So yeah, I'm not.
Yes.
My comment wasn't to suggest that um, it's something that could be done overnight. It's just a confirmation that the direction, the intended direction, is to move there at some point in the foreseeable future.
Yes, absolutely. There is work ongoing to work out exactly everything that's affected. It turns out it's quite a lot, and how to best communicate and work through that change so that it has the absolute minimum of disruption to the community.
Understood. Yeah, with all the SDK implications, legacy uses, and so forth. So it's there have to be some sort of conversion period notice, and I know that at least from a Hedera perspective, there's a desire to give at a minimum a 6-month lead time once the design has been finalized to minimize the disruption.
Yes. And plus the work on the consensus node and other systems. Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
So, Alex, just I work on the SDK. So just last week we were pushing for that HIP to be, we all want that HIP, and I think we have an agreement to have more engineering resources put on it in November to help work on it. So I think if your question is that HIP gonna happen? I mean, yes, we all want it, especially the SDK team wants it, and so we just need to get the resources and then get the draft out to TSC.
Yeah, I guess maybe from speaking from a TSC perspective, I think that's a reasonably high priority. Not saying that that's going to uh, overcome some of the challenges that are being addressed, but to the extent that that can be done uh, as a higher priority or a relatively high priority, is at least my point of view on that. Again, not suggesting people are stating otherwise. I just try to indicate that as my position.
Okay. Yeah, understand. And yeah, it definitely is a priority. Your first point, as far as reusing account IDs across nodes, this HIP, the design states that that is not possible. So if you look at the rationale, the fourth bullet states that it's a one-to-one node account ID to node ID, basically.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this last week, and it was not today. Again, this is why I was raising the issue about the node ID. It's the restriction is to remove any sort of ambiguity. It's as if two machines on the public internet had the same IP address, right? You would have routing issues associated with that. But if the node ID were used as the primary key, then that particular problem goes away.
Correct.
And then the remaining issue would be if there were problems with that node account, whatever. I'm trying to think of what the problems would be, but that it could affect more than one node, which is possible even in today's environment outside of the node account ID, where a change could affect more than one node. So I don't think that in and of itself is sufficient given our current restrictions around centralization, at least on the Hedera network, in terms of how many entities can concentrate the operations of consensus nodes in the Hedera policy being 15%. So at most, you could affect 15% of the nodes, but even that is unlikely. So I guess my
Alex,
point is that I don't want to put in place a temporary a solution to a issue that is temporary with the indications that we're removing some of those issues in a forthcoming HIP.
So, Alex, I don't think, I mean, my vote, even with the new HIP coming up around node IDs, I don't think we would want to change this HIP in terms of the one-to-one mapping. I mean, let's just take another issue. You know, recently I was talking with you and the other Keith about mapping node revenue. Like that metric about like being able to say, well, this node received this much node fee rewards. I mean, that's a direct mapping between the node fee rewards account and a specific node's node account ID. I don't even know how we would do it if there was a one like node account ID mapped to multiple nodes. It would just make everything so difficult. And I don't see the upsides. I just see the downsides of that, doing something like that.
It's the upsides is just from the node operator of simplifying treasury management if they're operating more than one node, particularly as a service provider. But the and again, it goes back to what had been previously indicated that a many to one node account to node ID was possible and anticipated in the past. And again, I understand that from a practical point of view, that doesn't apply given existing circumstances. Just having this restriction seems to be, a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I think the other part too is the dealing with when an account is designated as a node account, is to ensure that the any sort of account restrictions, such as receiver signature required, are overridden for purposes of node fees and node rewards. So that removes, if somebody configures a node account to be receiver signature required, that it doesn't block the submission of transactions to a node. Does that make sense?
I think so. The last part for me personally, I didn't quite follow. But back to this HIP.
It's so. I mean, and maybe I misunderstood this. Is that if an account is set for a receiver signature required, it's unclear whether that would affect that account from receiving node fees or node rewards. And just clarifying that as part of this HIP, that regardless of certain settings of an account, those settings would not negatively impact that account from receiving node fees or node rewards as a matter of course.
Gotcha. Okay, so seems like there's more things to sort out with this HIP. Do you agree with that, Alex?
Yeah, I do. I don't want to be the only voice on this per se. And I know that, and I'm seeing Richard's comments coming in regarding the many to one is potentially a complication that maybe the implications that I don't appreciate moving forward. So I'm definitely open and willing to understand that, but to the extent that it is coming out of the gate that we're making that restriction is something that I just wanted to raise as a something that I've already heard from some operators that they would like to simplify their node fee management, whether they do it directly or through custodians or what have you. So I'm just relaying that.
My suggestion, Alex, could we just maybe clarify that user story? Because I'm still confused about why a node operator can't create multiple accounts. And if it's around keys, they could even use a single key pair to create multiple accounts. So like, what is so difficult about like them creating multiple accounts from multiple nodes? I think that's where I'm blocked. I mean, I understand the whole operator thing. I don't understand why they can't do a one-to-one mapping of accounts to nodes. I mean, maybe we can go offline with that. Like that's I would love to capture that user story.
Sure. Yeah, we can. Some of this sometimes comes into if they're doing it through a custodial relationship and the custodial relationship is asset-based and they have separate accounts versus single accounts, they might get fee structures that are different for custodian for those custody accounts, right? So it could be a cost savings measure in those situations. Again, is that a corner case? Probably. And if it comes down that between this and the work towards moving to a single node ID, or using node IDs versus node account IDs in the SDKs, introduces inherently a level of increased complexity that is, either unwarranted or just introduces more, breakpoints in the code, then I know I'm willing to, definitely, consider that and remove kind of my request here. So I don't want to be obstinate on that point.
Yes, one of the more significant concerns with supporting multiple account IDs is that there is actually probably quite a bit more than you might expect code that makes assumptions regarding the uniqueness of account IDs. There's some in the system, but there's also a lot in applications. And so one of the reasons we put this in is to enable this to move forward faster. So because otherwise we have to give a lot more notice so that applications that make these assumptions can be changed before this account ID change goes through. So this is very much about, there is a lot of complexity associated with allowing multiple nodes to have the same account ID and a lot of community impact. And we're hoping to narrow that so that this particular HIP, this basic change can go forward. And then those other concerns can be handled by shifting to use node IDs.
Right. Yeah, makes sense, given the way that this has been running for the past, 5+ years, or 6+ years. So, okay. Well, ideally we would have this, but as is being, articulated, this may be a bridge too far at this point in time. Fair enough. I just noted that it was definitely something that has changed in how it was originally I guess reflected. But be that as it may, it is what it is. And so I'm not gonna hold up just for that particular point. But it's just a
And and to reiterate, we do hear the concern, and we're absolutely aware, particularly on the side on the engineering side where we're looking at node IDs. We're absolutely aware of that concern, and we do want to remove that restriction as soon as it's technically feasible.
fair enough. Okay.
Okay, but Alex, would that mean that you would be ready to vote on that HIP?
There's still an outstanding item around some of the issues around the handling of node fees. Node rewards is reflected in the HIP change. That rewards like from node rewards from account 801 ignore receiver signature required settings.
Yeah.
I may have missed it, but I didn't see anything that suggested that node fees similarly would ignore receiver signature required.
Good. I mean, Milan just saying the same, that he would like to have more time for that HIP. And since I was not there last week and don't have time to look the presentation so far, I would have abstained. So I think it's good to move it then to next week.
Okay.
The voting. Okay, good.
I will say one thing, please, if there are concerns on the HIP, please do. We don't have a PR. We'll get a discussion started and we'll get that in GitHub so that we can continue that discussion over the week.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. We have the PR, so I think yeah, that makes sense to add comments to the PR. So that maybe next TSC meeting all questions are solved then. Cool. Okay. Oh, Michael.
Hey, thanks, Hendrik. Yeah, so last week we brought up 1300, and I understand there was some implementation detail feedback on that. My question is more around, are we voting on specific implementation details and getting that all square before we vote, or are we voting on the overall spirit of the HIB? It sounded like in 1299 that we just went over, like maybe there could be some change to some of the spirit of the hip. So I understand the abstaining from vote on that, but on 1300, are we going to not vote on that because of implementation?
Yeah. We just need another week, Michael.
Okay.
And it's kind of the core to the HIP, needs more discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
To my, but I do think, Michael, your point is very valid. That as we look at this as a code base that could be implemented in a number of different implementation, including the Hedera network, that certain configuration items like which payer accounts are not subject to or have the ability to go beyond the existing transaction sizes would be configuration driven, specific to a network. I think, and to what Mark Blackman was saying as part of the conversation, that originally there were just a few listed account IDs, and I had raised that the problem extends beyond those particular account IDs. But if from a spirit perspective, it's the ability to authorize or configure accounts or a range of accounts to have extended transaction size limits would be fairly generic and set by certain property configurations at deployment. So I think basically, if I'm my reaction to your statement is that, yeah, 1,300 and authorizing larger transaction sizes for specific accounts, whatever they might be, as the needs might arise for again an implementation on the Hedera side. That need is most specifically within the range of the privileged account range. That should be set as need be. So I think that, from my point of view, as long as that is thematic, then I think that I'd be pretty close to move forward on a vote, but I know that there's probably some time that would need to be done just to cross the T's and dot the I's.
Okay.
And
So are we voting on overall spirit of HIPs or implementation in this TSC meeting?
yeah, I wanted to say something on that, not especially on that. I think when it comes to implementation, we have a quite already now like diverse TSC with different tech levels of the people, different understandings. And from my point of view, it's somewhere in the middle, right? It's maybe more than the spirit, but what we should not do, and I know I do it often enough, go deep into like the implementation of an HIP. I think it's good to ask questions, but deep implementation things from the TSC level should not be a blocker for an HIP to move forward from my point of view. If the functionality, the spirit, the user stories and the general idea how it's implemented is clear, and then I think we had a HIP like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 weeks ago. I think it was the HIP with the hooks HIP, where there was like a list of different strings where I said, oh, why is that not an enum? It would be better if that is an enum. But that, from my point of view, should not be a blocker to vote on that HIP. Should be a comment for sure, then on the HIP, but from how the HIP is working, what the functionality, what it solves, and so on, that is where we should vote on. If that makes sense in general in the Hiero focus and scope. That's my point of view here.
So with that said, yeah, the spirit of 1,300 is to have some level of accounts have a larger transaction size for governance-based tasks. If the TSC feels confident or comfortable enough with that level of detail, yeah, I'd like to bring it to a vote then. Alex, if you feel that is good.
I mean, from my point of view, I do.
Okay.
We seem
Yeah,
contrary
well,
to my
that's
conversation from last
yeah,
go round, but yeah.
yeah, okay. So Hendrik, yeah, if we could bring 1,300 to a vote, that'd be great.
If that is fine for all TSC members.
Balad was asking for a little bit more time, so I think it's up to
Okay.
let's hear what people think.
Yeah.
I thought he was
Okay,
talking about
then-
$12.99, but not 1,300.
I was talking about 12.99, not 1,300. I think 1,300 was pretty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so 1,300 is good to go from your point of view, Migan.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's vote on that one. Stoyan,
Yes, I vote yes.
Georgie,
Yes.
Brandon,
I vote yes.
Migan,
Yes.
Michael,
I vote yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Good, more than enough yes, so I can abstain since I was not there last time. That is great. So this HIP is approved. Perfect. Thank you. And thanks for asking that question, Michael, because that helped us now to move that HIP forward.
I thank you guys.
Okay. Anything else on HIPs? Good. Next topic on our agenda is the work that we currently do for Hacktoberfest and good first issues, where I would like to give a short overview. Let me see, where's my starting point? Here's my starting point. So we have, as already shown, like I think twice in the TSC, we have this new good first issue guidelines that we're still keeping up and dating up. Yesterday, I added a new link to it to a nice view of our PRs. And that has always been shared twice with the maintainers. And what we are seeing is some very nice work being created in Hiero, around Hiero, with good first issues. So, and before I open the overview of the good first issues and PRs we had and so far, I think it really makes sense to highlight a project here, because while several projects do good work in this good first issue initiative, there's one project that is on a kind of different level. So what we see here are all issues in our repo that are still open and that have a good first issue label, or labeled as good first issue, updated by when the issue has been, like modified, updated, assigned, whatever, the last time. And something that you see here is that we have a lot of issues that are opened like in the time of the Hacktoberfest, first of all. And several of them has really done this workflow of being a good first issue candidate first, then in our Monday meetings for the good first issue rehearsals, got reviewed, and then we gave it as a good first issue, which from my point of view really shows a success on that idea we had here. And the other thing that is really great, or two other things that are really great, here you can see on the right that a lot of issues are already assigned to people working on pull request, or like for those twos as an example, already have been created a pull request for that good first issue. And one thing, as said, one project is really doing a lot of work here, which is the Hiero Python SDK. So if you look at this list, you will see that like over 50% of the good first issues that have been created in the last weeks are coming from the Python SDK. Another project where I'm really happy is because it's another project coming from the community, is the Hiero did SDK JavaScript project. Sorry about saying from the community. All projects coming from the community. It's not a project we transferred from Hedera, but that came from other community members as Hedera, where those people started to create good first issues too, and creating good first issue candidates and so on. And we have a large list here, and it's not only good first issues being created, but when having a look at this one, where we see all pull requests for good first issues, you can see that over the last days, several pull requests have been merged into the projects based on working on good first issues. And again, what you can see here, and I highlight the Python SDK because I want to show you what kind of impact those good first issue initiative can have for a project. Here you see a lot of those things coming to the Hiero SDK project. And when going to the, the Python SDK. And when going to the Python SDK, you can see that, that the Python SDK already have over 30 contributors, 35 in total now, where a lot of those contributors came from things like good first issues, especially now in Hacktoberfest. And when going to the traffic view of the project, you can see how all those graphs, like clones done during Hacktoberfest, unique clones, visitors, total views of the project, and so on, all went up just because of the good first issue work and Hacktoberfest. At least I assume it's because of that work, right? I do not have a proof. Maybe something else is happening I'm not seeing, but my assumption is that we here really see the great outcome of working on good first issues, working together with the community, and getting a more diverse set of contributors. And October is still running, so with that, again, I would like to invite all other projects to continue to create good first issues, have a look at our guidelines, ping me or Jessica as an example, or Roger. If you have any questions about creating good first issues, we will help you for sure here. Join our meetings on Monday if they are not too early for you, to do reviews on the good first issue candidates and help the different projects to move them to really great good first issues, so that a lot of people can contribute to Hiero and our projects as first-time contributors. That's it, what I would like to share at that topic. Any questions or comments regarding good first issues? Jessica, anything I've missed?
No, just encouragement to everybody else to designate new candidates, first issue candidates. And yeah, I know that we have Hacktoberfest 1.5 more weeks going on, but going forward, this is also going to help bringing in new talent. So definitely let's keep it up.
Yeah, and we won't stop at the end of Hacktoberfest, right? So we just working on how to use good first issues even after Hacktoberfest, how to get more diversity outside of October. So yeah, it even makes sense if you say, oh, I don't have time this week and next week would be too late. No, it wouldn't be too late. Every good first issue really helps here. Any other questions, comments? If not, that was the last topic on our agenda. May, hey.
Hello. I have a question for any other business. I have a question to the technical steering committee. Have we ever heard of anyone doing things around transaction simulation, either in mainnet or in the EVM? I have a team that is building some tooling, and they are looking into this and seeing if there's any sort of capability or plans to do this. HIPs. I've tried looking for HIPs, but I couldn't find anything. So wondering if anyone has any insights on this.
But what kind of simulations are you thinking of?
So basically, if you were to do a transaction or if you were to run a smart contract and see what the result is afterwards. It's a fairly
Okay, so
common thing in Ethereum.
yeah. So the JSON RPC relay does this for so on the consensus nodes, we have hold on a second, paging it all in. Okay, yes, I believe this should all be possible on the relay. The mirror node has an EVM running there, and it lets you run so that at least you can figure out how much gas you're going to use and whether it works or not for the EVM. I don't think there's anything similar for uh normal transactions.
For me to understand it, is it like I send a smart contract call and want to get the outcome of the smart contract, but I don't want to change the world state? Is it like that? Like
Yeah.
reset everything
Yeah.
as it was before? Okay, understood. Okay.
So you can do it on the JSON relay?
Yeah, so you could because that's how they do the gas estimations, is that you basically send it your transaction and then it goes to a EVM that's running in the mirror node and it executes a transaction and says, all right, how much gas did you use? And I think it gets other information too. But
Okay.
to be honest, I haven't done it myself, so I'm not sure on all the specifics if it fits your needs. But it should, because it is very normal in the Ethereum world to do this for EVM at least.
Yes.
And that's what the JSON RPC relay does, is it makes our world look right for EVM developers. So it should
Okay.
be implemented there. But we don't have a similar capability for other transactions. Like if you try to do an atomic batch transaction or something and said, would this work or not? I think we have
Okay.
a capability.
Who could I get in contact with if I needed more details on the JSON RPC relay side?
I can send you his link, but it's Fur. He would be the one to know, Fernando Paris.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've ever talked with him, so I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank
you bet.
Okay.
Georgie, we have Georgie and Keith. Georgie, I think
Yeah.
had hand up first.
Yeah. May for for Ethereum transactions, you can use the JSON RPC relay as Richard said. It call will simulate transactions without changing the state, and it estimate gas will just give you the gas cost. So yeah, but for
call, sorry?
it call, yeah. This is
Okay.
from the standard JSON RPC
Oh,
schema
okay.
that is out there. Yeah, but I don't think there is simulating transactions for native, header calls.
Looking at my notes, I think they're specifically looking for EVM, so that might not be a problem.
Yeah, then that will do the job. Yeah.
Keith, you had hands up. Yeah, okay. Keith?
But we're also adding, we also have the capability to simulate gas through the SDKs. I think there's an outstanding ticket. It's not, I would say it needs to be better documented, but I can send you, if you're doing it through the SDKs, I can send you the information, or I can send you the ticket for documentation.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, we already have here. Thanks, Nana, for sharing that.